So I do hope I get this all right, as I just have bullet points in front of me. But let's clear up one thing for certain, and that is at Battle in the Valley, there was a report that CM Punk was in attendance. And basically, the reason why CM Punk was in attendance for that event is because he is friends with Lars Fredrickson, who is a singer who is a singer in a band, and he was there and basically asked Punk to join him. There is nothing there. There is nothing else there, and New Japan even went out of their way to contact AEW to make sure that AEW knew that New Japan was not trying to upstage them by having Punk in attendance. That they had no idea that Punk would be in attendance for the event. But we also had updates on various things, including All Out and meetings with Tony Khan and CM Punk that have taken place over the last couple of months since the brawl out from at All Out. And the fact of the matter is, prior to CM Punk's escapades on Instagram, there was discussion of Punk coming back, and Punk, as it's been reported, as some may know, I don't know how interested people are in this at this point. I don't know how, committed people are to this at this point. Like, I don't know how excited people are about CM Punk and the idea of Punk being a part of AEW again, or wanting to be a part of AEW again. Punk did want to come back. Punk did want to come back to AEW. Punk was committed, was interested, and would have been willing to apologize for the events of the Brawl Out. And basically, that all changed when, it's like the start of Avatar. It all changed when the Fire Nation attacked. It all changed when CM Punk took to Instagram and aired his dirty laundry again. According to reports, CM Punk had been in contact with Tony Khan, had meetings with Tony Khan, and it's likely because CM Punk is still technically under contract with AEW. That the reason why Punk and AEW had been in contact is because Punk is still under contract with AEW. It is unclear when Punk last met with Tony Khan, or how close things got to a potential return, but what is known is that they had discussed a potential return, and basically that Punk was committed to, Punk was very interested in coming back, and it seemed like Tony Khan was interested in having him back. And I can understand why Punk, for all his faults, Punk would still be a draw. Punk would help AEW. I wouldn't necessarily want him back in the position that he's in now, in the position that AEW is in now, only because AEW opened the door for fresh contests, a fresh look at the main event, and fresh talent in the main event, that being Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, and Sammy Guevara. Because I think, even though a lot of people may not like Sammy Guevara, a feud with Sammy and Jericho is something that a lot of people would love to see. Not just me, but also the pillars of AEW fighting for the AEW World Championship is something that I think a lot of people would love to see, because it is something that a lot of people are critical of AEW about, and that is, well, the idea of AEW not pushing the homegrown stars and focusing too much on the rating and not enough on developing their own stars and developing their own talent like they should, because it doesn't get the mainstream attention. It doesn't get who is, the people that are going to be the stars. Like, it's not going to get, Jimmy over there that used to watch WWE to come watch AEW if people he's never heard of are fighting for their world championship. But that's where it's up to WWE and Tony Khan to show the investment, to make people believe, to make people understand why it matters to invest in Jack Perry, why it matters to invest in Darby Allin, why it matters to invest in Sammy Guevara, and why, if anything, you just want to watch it and see Max get his ass kicked and get his ass handed to him every single time until eventually we get to the point where Max finally gets beat by somebody, and that makes you love that person who beat the living hell out of Maxwell Jacob Friedman, because you hate that guy that much that you are enjoying him getting his ass kicked. But the fact of the matter is, think about who Max has beat in his first 2 title defenses, or since he won the title. He beat Ricky Starks. He beat Jon Moxley for the belt, and he beat Bryan Danielson in his first pay-per-view title defense. My point is, he beat people outside of Ricky. He beat people that were already established. Nobody expected, no offense to Ricky Starks, but nobody expected Ricky Starks to beat Max. Nobody expected Ricky Starks to beat Max. No offense to Ricky Starks, but I don't think anybody expected him to beat Max. But, it's like with, it's like with Max against, Jericho's feud with X and Andretti and Ricky Starks. People expect, because of how most Jericho feuds have gone, they expected Jericho to win. But he didn't. Jericho's been out of the world title picture. Kenny Omega's been out of the world title picture. There's got to be room for other people, though. And having the guys in that picture, it would be a question of, if Punk did come back, where would he fit in? Because you can't just give him Max, especially now. And Punk did mention that, or it was mentioned, I believe this report is from Fightful Select, so credit to Fightful Select for the report and giving us all the insight that we've been hungry for since September about this situation. And it was reported that Punk had spoken with Kenny Omega and that his issues weren't with Kenny. This does point to the fact that it is very likely his issues were with Hangman Page and the Young Bucks. But it was that Kenny was just in a position where Kenny was defending his friends and acting as the VP, but the one person that in this situation acted the most professional was Hangman Page, which again, this is from Fightful Select. As Fightful Select said, that Hangman Page went out of his way to remove himself from the situation, and that is the most professional way to handle this situation. And he is the only person, in my opinion, outside of Kenny Omega, who was said to have been trying to defuse the situation, that Hangman Page is the only person to handle this professionally. Because it was a bad situation and he handled it by removing himself from the situation. My point is, Jericho, Mox, Punk, Bucks, Kenny, Tony Khan, anyone involved in this situation should have had everyone sit down and iron out their issues professionally and behind a closed door, because airing their grievances in public makes the company look bad and makes everybody involved look bad. Punk made a mistake and he should have apologized 5 months ago he should have apologized back in September, right after the situation at All Out. He should have apologized then for what happened, because Tony Khan should have made him apologize, because it is inexcusable to air your grievances in a public forum like that, and it makes the company look like shit. That's number one. Number two, everyone should have handled their situation a lot better, and it would have been handled a lot better if they were told to handle it professionally. If somebody stepped up and told them to handle it professionally. But Punk has heat with Jericho and Mox, and it's not just one way or the other. It's reciprocated back and forth. Both parties have heat with each other. It has been very public that Jericho has heat with with CM Punk. But also, Punk was said to Punk said he never wanted to compete before All Out. He never wanted to compete before being cleared. He never wanted to compete without. He never wanted to compete on that Dynamite and had that squash match, that questionable squash match with Mox. I understand now, looking back, that the segment, if you remember, with Ace Steel and CM Punk leading into All Out, where Ace Steel tried to get Punk to, like, basically snap out of it. That's when Ace Steel, dropped I think he dropped an F-bomb on on national TV. It's like, I remember somebody saying that if they built up to this and had Punk's friends and people Punk knows, like AJ come out and try and snap Punk out of it, like unsuredness, like he's not medically cleared, this, that, and the other thing, and that they put that and they went that way with it, and they actually did the Rocky 3. And Mox explained what the Rocky 3 story would be, that Punk would be looked at as a conquering hero in that situation, because he, in the face of everything, that in the face of injury, in the face of not being cleared, in the face of being mentally spent and mentally unsure of himself, that he could just, overcome the odds and become champion again. But nobody was fully invested in it, and it's cleared by that squash match. We will never know the full story. Like, we found out that a production member may have been hit in the fracas at All Out, and that's what caused a lot of the issues and a lot of the problems. The fact of the matter is, that explains a lot of the bad situation, because somebody who had nothing to do with it, it's a problem, and it's very likely that escalated the situation, because production members are off limits. They always are. In my opinion, wrapping up, I know that there was a lot to cover, there was a lot to talk about, there was a lot that I mentioned, and the fact of the matter is, I think, in my opinion, there may be another attempt to try and get Punk in. It really depends on when his contract's up. It really depends on if he's medically cleared. It really depends on how his injury is healing. Because if you remember, right after All Out, it was announced that Punk was injured again. But my point is that it depends on Punk. It depends on Punk. It depends on Tony Khan. It depends on the Bucks. It depends on everybody. Because the one question I have to ask is, if the Bucks and Kenny leave in the fall, does that open the door for Punk to come back to AEW if the Bucks and Kenny are not there anymore? So I think that is the question of, when Punk's contract expires, and when the Bucks' contract expire, and when Kenny's contract expire, that's the question you got to ask. Whose contract expires first? Because I think that if they're not there anymore, that may change things. Who knows? Who knows? But I don't think right now or anytime soon that we will see Punk in AEW after what happened earlier this week. But that is an update, and I hope I did right by you guys and explained it in the best way possible for you guys to easily digest and understand everything that is going on and everything that has been announced. Thanks to Fightful Select, and thanks to Sean Ross Sapp for being able to make this available for us and to allow me to be able to pass it on along to you. We got another video to come, so let's get to it, as WrestleMania week is starting a few days early, and it's busy, so let's get to it. See you in the next video.